Welcome to Prime Sports. With me, Razak Musbah. Let's start off with former Sports Minister and Member of Parliament for Ododo, Diodio, Neelante Van der Poel. He has attributed the struggle of the various national teams to the lack of proper planning in the sporting sector. Now, speaking to Joy Sports, Neelante says the national teams are failing at tournaments because of the poor approach to the development of players in the country. He believes that the situation will persist until the nation adopts a comprehensive plan for the growth and development of the sport.
I think the problem is when issues like this happen, we sit down and just look at ad hoc measures and ad hoc solutions. It's a systemic thing. And so if you develop an opportunity to sit down, interrogate, do a proper diagnosis of the situation and be able to, plan and see what sort of outcomes we'll have within the short term, the medium term, and the long term. You can't build a national team just by continuing with what we've done, Frefre Kobo. You can't just pick people and put them into a team. Look at the English team playing at the European Under-21 Championship. These are boys who have graduated from the Under-17, Under-19, Under-20, and 21. They used to have people like Carver, Lewin, Solanke, and all this in the team, but they have now moved up to the Under-23 level. You know, Foden, Greenwood, all these people were part of the team, but they've moved on. So the junior ones have come in. In the next 4 years, those who are now playing in the English Under-17 tournament will be there. 2, all the teams, all the premier clubs have junior levels. 21 playing in a league, 19 playing in a league. So the system is built in such a way that there will always be infusion of new, younger faces into the national sphere. What do we see here? Who are we depending on? We wait when we have a tournament, we invite somebody here, we call this person from here, put them together to play. We can never achieve results when we continue to do that. It's like we always plan to fail. And that is not it's not responsible enough. So I am not surprised, because for how long have this team been together? Can you even say they were the best of our Under-23 players around the world? Those days, our boys who played in Under-23 have been together for long. You're talking about the team of the Shamokwe's and the Bladekumes and the Pokus and the rest. They graduated from Under-17, Under-19, Under-21 to Under-23. So it was easy after the meteors to graduate some of them into the national team. And when they get to a national
Now, let's talk about former Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah. He has shed more light on why he helped players financially during his days with the senior national team. According to him, the benevolence was for the betterment of the team, and he has no regrets.
I didn't want to say these kind of things, trust me. But you see, at times you go to interviews and talking certain things comes and you just have to say it. But I didn't want to even talk about it. I've never spoke about it before, never. But at the end of the day, today I'm sitting here as a proud former player that I played in the World Cup. So you have to do certain sacrifice to make people happy, to give their all. You have to make people happy. And that's what I did.
You were flying down players to come and play for the national team.
I said I don't want to. I said no. I've said it already. You see,
were you flying down players to come and play for the national team?
I did some. Yeah, some of them. I was giving people bonuses. I mean, I'm not running away from it. And it's not like somebody forced me to do that. But at times, that Mufti at a point, nobody wants to come and play for the Black Stars. Maybe people. That time I said there was no social. People doesn't know a lot of story. That I said One day I know that I will write a book, and there will be certain things that I will put in my book.
So
but
people never
now,
wanted to play the Black Stars at some point?
No, at a point, yeah. Yes, at a point. At a point.
So why were you the person who decided you were going to pay their bonuses and even fly them to come and play?
But at the end, he benefited me. At the end, I had the chance to play in the World Cup. So my dream is to go to the World Cup. So I'm not seeing it as a bad thing. I mean, some players too, I mean, they have done some sacrifices. We traveled with Asamoah and we played against Congo. He chartered the whole flight. It's a sacrifice. But it comes out of his will. Nobody forced him to do that. Nobody forced me to do that. But I was looking at a bigger picture. We went to Slovenia where we were wearing our own attire at the hotel. I went to the shop. Mr. Fianu can testify. Alex Asante can testify. I went to the shopping mall to buy Adidas clothes for all the players and the staff in Slovenia. So these are the things. You see, that time you are playing, you are a pro. You are a pro, so it's a shame you have made name in Italy. And then you will be with your national team, the national team, and then you will see players wearing their, like the way we are now. I mean,
jacket.
Yeah, somebody will be in jalabia, and it's not, yeah. Yeah, it's not nice. So that's where I took it from. Like, oh, I think we have to be in uniform because I've played for Udinese. That time I was playing for Parma. And it was so nice when we go to camp. We are in uniform, everybody dressed the same. So I said, okay, I didn't do that because
Now, former Black Stars head coach James Stephen Appiah met with Asantehene 2432 earlier today over the possibility of taking over the coaching job at Asante Kotoko. Now, Joy Sports understands that the ex-Kotoko left back is looking to return to the club he once coached during his early days as a gaffer. Now, Appiah was the head coach of the Porcupine Warriors during the 1995-96 Ghana Premier League season. And just last season, the club ended last season with Abdul Ghazali as the interim coach following the sacking of Seydou Zebo midway into the season. It comes a day after Menchia did dissolve the board and management of the club. And to just understand that now the ownership of the club is looking to appoint a new coach is one that is ruffling quite a lot of feathers, even in Kumasi. Joining us via Zoom is the head of sports for Insure FM and also of Insure FM, our sister station, Bismarck Ayala. Ayala, thanks so much for joining us on Prime Sports tonight. I mean, help us appreciate exactly what is happening in Meshia at the moment.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. What is happening is simple. The board has been dissolved, as you mentioned, and the owners of the club, headed by the Asantehene, of course, are looking to put together a new administration to kick off preparations for next season. You know, the club is aware, and when I say the club, I mean the owners are aware that other competitors to Kotoko are making inroads when it comes to preparation for next season. Others are trying their hands on few transfer market players. Others are preparing, making sure where they have their preseason and all those things. So Kotoko will also need to, as a matter of urgency, get onto track for next season. So if it's even not a new board that is coming in, at least a technical team that will make sure the team prepares for next season in terms of the transfer market and preseason arrangements is what the owners are trying to put together as soon as possible. And it's not just Stephen Appiah who is meeting the Asantehene. I can tell you for a fact that former coach of Kotoko, Prosper Ogum, doctor, will also meet Asantehene in the coming days, and he is also one of the favorites to land the job as the next commander Asante Kotoko. So that is what we are picking when it comes to the new direction that the owners will want to take the club.
But what is quite surprising a lot of people is that many would think that Menchia will be focusing on possibly getting a new board and management and allow management to take decisions relative to who becomes the next coach of the team. So it's quite surprising why Menchia appear interested in the technical team even before the administrative aspect of the team. Do you understand why this move is being carried out?
They believe they are the administrators of the team. They are the owners. The club belongs to them. If you come in as a board or CEO, the decisions you take as to who becomes the coach of the club and who becomes who, you still have to have the approval of them. So it's like they taking the decisions themselves. It's like the Qatar investment in Paris Saint-Germain. The Emir of Qatar take decisions and approve decisions on who becomes the coach and the sporting director and all those things. So once there's no board, they think they have every right to make the decisions. And as I've said, we don't really have time. Other clubs are making inroads concerning transfers and preparing for preseason, and Kotoko must do same. That is why they've taken charge of their own destiny and making sure they put in these things that are needed as soon as possible until probably they look at the bigger picture of who is coming in and who will be the board members and form a new administration.
But from what you're picking between Prosper Nata Ogum and James Kwesi Appiah, who is on the screen now, who do you think Menchia is possibly leaning towards?
It's very, very difficult to predict Menchia. Very, very difficult. What I know is that today the conversation with Kwesi Appiah was very, very successful. And just like Kwesi Appiah would look out for, it will be the same with Prosper Ogum. They will want an environment that will make sure it set them up for success. It's something that is long term because it's not easy to predict you can achieve so much in a short term at Asante Kotoko. So they will want a contract that will suit their long term vision, that will set them up in terms of a very, very encouraging environment for them to be able to work. So I can't really predict what Menchia will go for, but I think those two coaches are very much on top of their list as priorities. And Kwesi Appiah tilted a little bit because for him, he has not been with Kotoko in recent years. Ogum has come and gone. So for a fresher breath around the club, I think it's more tilting to Kwesi Appiah than Ogum. But it depends on the response that these two men give to the Asante and those who are seeking to bring them on board. And if anybody is very, very willing and ready to get the things going, I think he will get the appointment.
Bismarck, I'm going to let you go, but just finally, in a few seconds, tell me, is this the end of Nana Aponsa at Kumasi Asante Kotoko?
Yes, I can confirm to you that the only management member whose name still hovers around Menchia to be maintained is Emmanuel Dasoberi. And they are thinking about that decision because they think over the years, when it comes to administrative operations of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, it has not been consistent. And the competence in that office has always had a low turn. And they think Ima is someone who came in, had a lot of appreciation of how to administer the club when it comes to its correspondence with the FA, when it comes to its knowledge about dealing with the FA and all that. So I can confidently tell you that in terms of the management members, the only person who has a chance to maintain his Kotoko for the next administration will be Ima and not any other person.
Bismarck Ayala, we appreciate your time on Prime Sports tonight. That's Bismarck Ayala, head of sports for HRI FM, our sister station, all the way in Kumasi. Let's move on. And shocking details have emerged of how the national under-21 volleyball team was left with no choice but to embark on a 72-hour journey to Niger to participate in the qualifiers for the Africa Youth Volleyball Championship. Now, the 36-member contingent left Accra on Monday morning and is expected to arrive later tonight in Niger after what is expected to be an arduous journey for the young players and officials. Misha Kweno of our Just Sports Desk joins me in the studio because he's been following this story very closely. Mish, what do we know about this team? Have they arrived in Niger?
Around 6:30 p.m. tonight, we received information that the team had, I know you said touchdown, but it's not touchdown in Niger. But yes, around 6:30 they arrived in the capital, Niamey. But it was around 5 where the 72-hour trip had been cut short to 66 hours. So around 5 they had finally entered Niger after starting that trip from Ghana on Monday morning into towards the Niamey. So around 5 they entered Niger. Then started the trip to Niamey, the capital, where the tournament is going to be played proper.
Well, I mean, for a tournament like this, especially for a team that's representing Ghana, you should expect that at the very least they get a flight to Niger but this time around they have to do a very tortuous road trip. What have you gathered relative to why this happened? Why did they have to go by road when they could have easily taken a flight to Niger?
I mean, if you look at the pictures on your screen right now, you might think, oh, maybe there was poor planning. They didn't put their stuff in their house in order, so they had to quickly scrape their stuff, their people, and try and mobilize a trip. But I'm interested you to understand that they sent a letter to the Ministry of Sports through the NSA more than a month ago, informing the Ministry of Sports about this particular tournament they wanted to embark on. And there was no response coming until only some weeks ago or some days ago, where they had word from the ministry that their request had been forwarded to the International Games Committee, who are going to converge in a meeting on Tuesday morning, which is this morning, like earlier today, this morning.
Yeah.
To now deliberate about what to do for them. And their first game is tomorrow morning. So if we're going to sit down and wait for the International Games Committee or whoever has to do whatever, or put whatever magic to deliberate and find out if they can find money for them, it means we're risking landing in
missing out on the first
Niger at a very late time. I remember there's a 40-man squad for both the males and females, together with 4 coaches each for the male and female side and 1 referee. And although they are a team, male and female, they're not playing in the same place. So it's possible that, let's say, although it might all be in Accra, let's say, it's possible that maybe the boys will be playing at the volleyball courts at the University of Ghana, while the girls will play at the volleyball courts at the prisons courts around cantonments and that sort of thing. So it was
arriving early.
They arrived early, so they couldn't wait for this morning to get confirmation from whoever was making that confirmation. Also interesting to know that when that information came around 6:30 about them arriving in Niger, Niamey, for the games, obviously the follow-up question was, yes, the International Games Committee indicated they're going to meet today. And
so have they gotten a response to that?
No response yet. So if they're going to sit down and wait for them to give them a response, obviously they're going to now start the trip this evening, 72-hour trip, or something to get there.
Interesting. We'll keep tabs on this very development, and of course, Michelle Queno will bring us up to speed on what happens in Niger relative to under 20 volleyball team. But let's get to the